All right, Shalom, Shalom Israel, Shalom Classroom, Shalom. Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Peace and blessings to the elect of Israel scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach Yahushua, laboring fervently in the gospel. A hearty, mighty Shalom to all of the men of the Lord who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and doing all things for the elect's sake. Shalom to those men. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, fasting, studying, being diligent, and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom to those men. Shalom to all of the sisters out there, married and unmarried, the widows out there, those who have husbands who reverence them and submit unto them, those who may not, who are looking for the second coming of Yahushua, building themselves up, tending upon the Lord without distraction. Shalom to the children, the ancient men, and everybody else tuning in through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Shalom, shalom.
God, Shabbat Shalom. All praises to the Most High for another Shabbat, another day of repenting, getting yourselves in order, getting your houses in order, reflecting on how you can do better coming into this Passover season. Right, as we always do, we're going to go to Acts chapter 18 and verse 4.
God, Acts chapter 18 and verse number 4. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks.
Right, another Sabbath service to persuade Israel, who knows that they're Israel, to continue in the law, statutes, and commandments, the faith, the brotherly love, the charity, everything to magnify the name of the Lord. And to those just finding out that they're Israel, to compel them to come back to serving the Lord and thoroughly and fervently checking to see, to debunk all the things that you learned in this world, man. Right, and the only way we can do that is through Philippians 4 and 13.
Philippians chapter 4 verse number 13. I can do all things through Hamashiach, which strengtheneth me.
Right, through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, we're able to cast down false doctrine, stand 10 toes down for what we have learned, and defend the gospel with all honor, truth, and sincerity through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua.
Come, Shalom, all Israel. Can I get the book of Psalms, chapter 42, and verse number 4?
Come, Psalms chapter 42 and verse 4. When I remembered these things, I poured out my soul in me. For I had gone with the multitude, I went with them to the house of God.
I did what?
I went with them to the house of God.
Right, I went with them to the house of God. Read.
With the voice of joy and praise, with a multitude that kept holy day.
Right, so you got to keep the high holy day. You got to keep the Sabbath day. Right, if you got a synagogue, if you got a temple, if you got somewhere that you can go to, right, with your family or a congregation, gather together with song and praise and reading and doing the works of the Lord on the Sabbath day, man. It's very important in the last days. Keep the high holy days. That's right, and we continue where we left. We continue where we left off. WFI hot seat, Q&A, and current events. We're going to tackle these questions on a first come, first served basis. And we're going to rate in order. We'll try to go through these questions in a reasonable amount of time, so we're not being long-winded. And Lord willing, if your question doesn't get answered, we always have the email at the end of the day. Brothers can always go into the email. And we have Q&As that we do throughout the week on the Cold Cut to Resurrected channel, as well as brothers' independent social media accounts that they have out there that you can ask questions and DM and things of that nature. All right, so never feel like your question won't get answered, right? So let's move on. So the first question from Jean Coriolis. Can you explain preterism and why they are wrong? They believe that all prophecy was fulfilled in 70 AD, the water. All right, so what you got, bro? You got something?
No, I was going to pull it up.
Are we going to pull up the definition?
Okay.
We're going to pull up the definition. So that means that brothers who follow that, they believe, can you turn me up a little bit up? That all prophecies came to pass, right? They believe that all of the prophecies in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, they believe that these things have come to pass already, and that we don't have to wait for any prophecies within those respective chapters or other chief prophetic chapters throughout the Bible. So bring it up.
This preterism, right, reads, it says, holds that the contents of Revelation constitute a prophecy of events that were fulfilled in the first century. Preterists believe the dating of the book of Revelation is of vital importance, and that it was written before the destruction of 70 AD.
So there is madness, right? When it's dated that Revelation was written around 96 AD or so. So they believe all of those prophecies. They cut the timeline when John wrote Revelation on the Isle of Patmos, almost 30 years or so. And then they say that all of the prophecies have been fulfilled, right? Can we get one of the prophecies? Let's go to Matthew, chapter 24, and let's deal with verse, start at 15, start at 14.
St. Matthew.
So they will have to explain this one.
St. Matthew, chapter 24, and verse number 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation.
24 and start at 12.
Okay, verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold.
Right now, you can say, well, that was 70 AD, or well, that's happening right now too, huh? Right? You have evil, crime at an all-time high, blood shedding, murder. Go on.
But he that shall endure unto the end,
until 70 AD.
But he that shall endure unto the end.
So the end isn't 70. It's not the end of the siege of Jerusalem. Huh? It's speaking about the end of the time before Yahweh shall return. Go on.
But he that endured unto the end, the same shall be saved.
Because who was saved in 70 AD, man? Where they get saved to, man? We were dispersed and scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, man. Chief parts of the land of Ham, some parts of Mesopotamia. Some men went south, man. So it's not speaking about every prophecy came to pass, because we're going to get saved when Yahweh shall returns. Right, so read on.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world.
And what?
In all the world.
Right.
For a witness unto all nations.
And then what?
And then shall the end come.
So you can't get around it. So the apostles didn't travel to China. You got camps. They got, I think IUSC got a camp in Japan. You got brothers in the Philippines that do the work of the Most High. You got camps. They got congregations in Italy. We got brothers in the Netherlands and Germany, and that's the gospel being preached mainly chiefly through the internet, right? When you look up analytics on certain channels, it tells you all of the countries that are dialed in and watching. Yahweh Shah said, "Then shall the end come." So you can't say that that prophecy, along with a whole lot of other ones, have been fulfilled, because we're living that out right now. Right? That's what we're literally doing right now, pushing this word on a high level. There's one more of that. Go
on. Verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand.
So you have three abominations of desolation. You have your first one by the Greeks, Antiochus Epiphanes IV. You can read about that in Maccabees. You have one in 70 AD. You have a third one that draws nigh. The first two were actual temples. The third one is with us, in a spiritual temple with the Most High, dealing with the same Roman armies coming as a so-called white man during the time of Jacob's trouble. So you see these tanks, these war vehicles, and these SWAT teams, and these different armed personnel coming to gather up the saints. Pursuing the 2nd Ezra chapter 16, you know that it's time to flee for security, right? Or flee for succor. Right? You got to flee into the wilderness, be a pilgrim on the earth. When you see Jacob's trouble persecuting and them rounding up Israel, it's going to be time to make moves. Yeah, that happened in 70 AD, but it's going to happen again. A lot of these prophecies are twofold. We're going to be pilgrims on the earth all over again. Right? One more. Go to Daniel 12 and 11. Right? Daniel chapter 12 and 11. So we have to understand certain things that Yahweh Shah said. He said, "Whoso readeth, let him understand." Right? So bring that up.
Daniel chapter 12 and verse number 11. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days.
Right.
Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,305 days.
So not to get too deep into that, but the Most High is telling you that the timeline of from the 1,260 days, and then you have to 1,290 days, that coincides with the daily sacrifice being taken away, or the abomination of desolation. Right now we're in a time of the 3.5 days of the saints waking up, and then you have this time period of persecution and desolation. And then if you come to the 1,335 days, which goes into the kingdom, then you'll be able to endure all things. You know, so that's what that's going into. I just had that point.
Let's go. Let's go to Matthew 24 and start at verse number 29. Right. So a lot of these prophecies are foretold that are coming in the time that we're living in, right? Because Yahushua didn't just talk about the prophecies that were spoken of him before. He spoke about end time prophecies multitudes of times, right?
Same Matthew 24, verse number 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heavens shall be shaken.
Right. So if we're using that terminology after the siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD, right? Wouldn't that mean that the stars from heaven would have fell when we entered into the mountains, like Yahushua said, when we went into the other coast of Africa? Right. Let's continue on with that, King.
Verse 30.
Now the sun and the moon wasn't immediately darkened. It took time for that falling away to happen. Because when we were still over there in the west coast of Africa or whichever parts that we were dispersed to, we still knew that we were Israel from our respective tribes.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Right, that's spoken about in Revelation, right? The coming of the Son of Man with the hundreds of thousands and millions of angels coming out of heaven to cause war and destruction upon our enemies, those who have afflicted Israel. Now, if you look at that, that hasn't happened yet either, right? So that's why the Lord said, he that readeth, right, read with understanding, loosely paraphrasing. There's one more verse, King.
Verse 31. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
Right, the elect hasn't been gathered. How do we know the elect hasn't been gathered? Because the four winds haven't destroyed the earth yet, man. All hell hasn't broken loose. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians 4, and we can start at 13. Right, this prophecy hasn't come to pass neither. This goes hand in hand with Matthew 24 and 31. Right, the elect have not been called up. You haven't heard come up hither, right? You haven't seen the dead rise first, and then those who are on the earth be called up neither. Right? These prophecies aren't just, look, it already happened, the Lord came, boom. Right? That's foolishness. That's madness, man. Because none of that coincides with Revelation. Right? Revelation would just have to be null and void now. Wouldn't be no end time war. It wouldn't be the destruction of our enemies. America wouldn't be utterly destroyed. Right? It'll negate all that's written in Isaiah, Jeremiah, so on and so forth. Right? Let's read that out, King.
1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 13. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope.
Right? Those that are asleep have died in the Lord. Right? They gave up the ghost. Right? Being in the truth and keeping the law, statutes, and commandments.
For if we believe that Yahushua died and rose again, even so, them also which sleep in Yahushua will the Most High bring with him.
Right.
For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep.
Right. So the elect that may have been martyred or they died before the return of Yahushua is not going to prevent them from being called up into heaven with the Lord. Right. We can continue on.
For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of the Most High.
Like we just read in Matthew 24 and 31, the trump of the Lord, right? And that goes into the seals, the signs, all the things that people neglect when you're talking about this doctrine, man. They neglect all of the Revelation prophecies, man. They neglect all the prophecies that were written about America being destroyed in the prophets of old, right? So he'll ascend from heaven with the trump of God, and the dead shall rise in Yahushua first, right?
And the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds
The elect being gathered from the four corners of the earth
to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord.
Right, and this prophecy definitely didn't happen because we're still teaching our neighbor, do you know that you're an Israelite? Do you know you have to keep the law, statutes, and commandments?
Correct.
God, I got something on that. You can go to the book of Luke, chapter 19 and verse 41. Right, dealing with the siege.
St. Luke chapter 19 and verse number 41. And when he was come near and beheld the city and wept over it, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes.
Right, they didn't know what was going to come to pass. You know?
For the day shall come upon thee.
What did the Lord say?
For the days shall come upon thee.
So why is the Lord saying in one context, he's revealing what's going to come to pass, but in another context, he's saying, watch so that that day doesn't come into you as a thief in the night. You got to link these things up. You got to link what's in prophecy. You got to link what's in context that's going on during this time coming to pass. We don't?
Shalaki. It says, for the day shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side.
Right, the Roman Empire, we don't?
And shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knowest not the time of thy visitation.
Right, now go to Luke chapter 21 and verse number 35.
St. Luke chapter 21 and verse 35. For as a snare shall it come on all of them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things.
So what are all these things, man? All these things are prophecy that has to happen prior to 70 AD. You have to link all of these things up when you're going into prophecy. Why is the Lord telling you what's going to come to pass as far as the siege, but yet he's telling you in verse 35. You can read that again, King?
Right, St. Luke chapter 21, right, and verse 35. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the earth. Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man.
Right, and in context, you know that the Lord is always speaking to the disciples. So if the Lord is saying one thing, you know he's not double-minded or retracting what he's going into. So you know there's one context in prophecy and another context, right, that's going into context.
Right, that's right, that's right. We're going to move on to the next question. Okay, from Nakamiah, servant of the Most High. Shalom, can you provide precepts on what happens when there is a new priest, when the priesthood changes? Okay, let's go to Hebrews chapter 7. Right? Hebrews chapter 7, you can start at verse 12.
Hebrews chapter 7 and verse
And I believe this is the priesthood he's going into, right? Because you have different priesthoods. There's an angelic priesthood. You can read about that in Revelation. They have an altar in the third heaven. They have a censer, right? They have a golden vial. So there's an angelic priesthood. Prior to the Levites, the head of the household, they served as the priest. What we call a patriarchal priesthood. Abraham was the priest for his family. Noah, Enoch. Then you have a Levitical priesthood. And then you have or they call it Aaronic priesthood. And then you have the priesthood after the order of Melchizedek. So you have different priesthoods throughout the Bible. But I'm sure the reference in Hebrews the 7th chapter. Let's bring that up.
Hebrews chapter 7 and verse 12.
Start at 11.
Verse 11. And therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood. For under it the people received the law. What further need was there that another priest should arise after the order of Melchizedek and not be called after the order of Aaron?
Right, go on. So the priesthood wasn't perfect, right? The Levites have flaws. The Levitical priesthood have a few flaws. One of them is they offered a dead sacrifice, and Yahushua is an ever-living sacrifice. So which one's better, an ever-living sacrifice or a dead sacrifice? Of course, an ever-living, Yahushua. right? The Levites, another flaw is they died. Yahushua is, again, he's immortal. He lives forever, right? So that these men, they went off too. They had to make atonement for their sins constantly. Yahushua, one time, went up to the third heaven and makes intercession for Israel, right? So the Levitical priesthood had flaws in it, for lack of better terms, when it came to salvation. So go on.
It reads,
and it's really a deep question, and it requires an in-depth, lesson and breakdown. But we want to get straight to the point. Go on.
for the priesthood being changed, there is made of necessity a change also of the law.
Right. So there's a transition. That's what it means from the Levites to who? To Melchizedek. Go on.
4. He of whom these things are spoken pertaineth to another tribe, which no man gave attendance at the altar.
Right. That's Judah. Go on.
For it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood.
So the priesthood shifted from Aaron and his sons, and then it shifted to Yahushua. And if you're in this truth now, you're part of that priesthood. Right? Go to 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 5. If you're in the truth now, you're part of this priesthood underneath Yahushua. Yahushua, real quick before you get that, Hebrews 3 and 1. Yahushua is the high priest, and we are lesser priests. Hebrews 3 and 1.
Hebrews 3 and verse 1. Wherefore, holy brethren, partakers of heavenly calling, consider the apostle and high priest.
And what?
And high priest of our profession, Hamashiach Yahushua.
So Yahushua, he's the chief, or he's the high priest. Just like Aaron was the high priest. But you had other priests that worked under him, right? Then you had the Levites. So Yahushua is the high priest. And with the priesthood being changed, you have men from other tribes that are now grafted in to this priesthood. So this priesthood isn't relative to your tribe. It's relative to your faith and the election that the Most High gave you. So you could be a Reubenite and be in this priesthood. You could be a Levite. You could be a Judite. You could be a Benjamite. You could be an Asherite. And with the high priest Yahushua, through faith, you have been called into this priesthood. Let me get one more. 1 Peter 2 and 6. Start at 5.
1 Peter 2 and verse 5. Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house and a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to Yahweh by Yahushua HaMashiach.
So with this, us being priests, we're not doing actual animal sacrifices. We're not going to camp and building an altar out of hewn stones, not touched by a tool. Huh? We're doing spiritual sacrifices that the high priest didn't perform that we're performing, right? Such as what? And there's a lot we can go into with spiritual sacrifices. You have to go to Hosea 14 and 2, right? All right, let me get this real quick. Hosea 14 and 2. Here's a spiritual sacrifice. You had trespass offerings in the ancient world. You had sin offerings. You had peace offerings. You had grain offerings. You had meat offerings. You had all of these types of offerings. You had thanksgivings. You had free will. You had so many offerings, but we're not doing that in this new priesthood. The priesthood that we're doing is going to be explained as we go through these precepts. Hosea 14 and 1.
Hosea chapter 14 and verse 1.
Here's one of the sacrifices that we're doing.
O Israel, return unto the Lord thy God, for thou hast fallen by thine iniquity.
Right.
Take with you words and turn to the Lord. Say unto him, take away all iniquity and receive us graciously, so we will render the calves of our lips.
The what?
The calves of our lips.
Does that mean you're going to spew a fatted calf out of your mouth? No, the calves of your lips. Like when you offer up a calf, it's a what? A sacrifice. So the calves of our lips is us doing what? Praising the Most High, repenting, teaching the people righteousness that proceeds out of your mouth is likened unto a fatted calf being offered up upon the altar. So the Levite priesthood, they would do a literal fatted calf. We're doing a spiritual fatted calf. Yahushua is the high priest, and we're doing spiritual sacrifices in the temple, which we are right now, upon the altar.
Let's go to Hebrews 10 and 1. Right? So with the change of the priesthood, the things of the past have to be put away so we can usher in that new priesthood that is coming. Right?
Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 1. For the law having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offered year by year continually make the comers thereunto perfect.
Right. So year by year, you have to go into the priests, the Levites, and give offerings for sin. Right. So you would make a sin offering, but you still have that remembrance of sin in your mind. Right. That evil grain of or that seed of evil is still in your mind to do it over and over and over. Right. And if you look at the ancient world, man, our people were so wicked, they would bring in sacrifices with blemish in it, right? Things that were an abomination unto the Lord. But with Yahweh Shai, he was that lamb with no blemish, which wipes away sin, right? We can read on down to verse 3.
Verse 2. For then would they not have ceased to be offered, because that the worshippers once purged should have had no more conscience of sins.
Right, and that's what Yahweh Shai does for us. We're new creatures in Yahweh Shai daily. That old man is supposed to continue to die, right? That's supposed to be our sacrifice unto the Lord, killing the old man, right?
But in those sacrifices, there is a remembrance again made of sins every year.
So you still have that sin in your mind. And with us being that nation of priests, let's go to Sirach 35 and 1. These are our new offerings unto the Lord. This is how we sacrifice daily unto the Lord, right? Yes, you're supposed to throw up your prayers at the hour of prayer at 3 p.m., but every day you're supposed to be sacrificing on the hour daily, man, right? To make an atonement for your sins, and that you're not crucifying the Lord again afresh, man.
Sirach chapter 35 and verse 1. He that keepeth the law bringeth offerings enough. He that taketh heed to the commandment offereth a peace offering.
So you're offering peace offering when you're doing as the Lord commanded you to do, right? You're bringing that lamb without blemish, right? That fine oil unto the Lord when you're keeping the laws, right? Continue on, Barbershop.
He that requireth a good term offereth fine flour, and he that giveth alms sacrificeth praise.
Right? One more.
To depart from wickedness is a thing pleasing to the Lord, and to forsake unrighteousness is a propitiation.
Right? So these things unto the Lord are much greater than thousands of bullocks, man. Right? Because those thousands of bullocks, they didn't take away sin, but you doing the things that the Lord commanded, that removes that grain of evil in your heart, and you start to walk more and more and more in the image of Yahweh Shai. That high priest who is going to be the new priest and the high priest that we were reading in the kingdom to come.
Come on. Right, I can get the book of Philippians chapter 2 and verse 25. The book of Philippians chapter 2 and verse 25.
Philippians chapter 2 and verse number 25. Yet I suppose it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother, my companion in labor and fellow soldier, but your messenger and he that ministered to my wants.
Right, so Paul is saying, I think it necessary to send Epaphroditus. Now jump to verse number 29.
Verse 29. Receive him therefore in the Lord with all gladness, and hold such in reputation,
right?
Because for the work of a Mashiach, he was nigh unto death.
He was nigh unto death.
Now regarding his life, to supply your lack of service toward me.
Right, so we had to supply the lack of service, right, toward Paul, right, that the church wasn't given. Now jump to Philippians chapter 4 and verse 18. Start at verse 17.
Philippians 4 and verse number 17. Not because I desire a gift, but I desire fruit that may abound to your account.
Right?
But I have all and abound. I am full, having received.
So given, right? Read on.
Having received of Epaphroditus the things which were sent from you, an odor of sweet smell, a sacrifice acceptable, well pleasing to Yahweh.
Right, so you have many sacrifices. Every sacrifice doesn't have to be a Pacific ram, a Pacific bullock, a Pacific heifer, a Pacific, all of these different things. You got to sacrifice world pleasing by doing a lack of service, right? You can go to the book of Romans chapter 15 and verse number 16. You can start at 15 and 15.
Romans chapter 15 and verse number 15.
Right?
Nevertheless, brethren, I have some the more boldly unto you. Nevertheless, brethren, I have written the more boldly unto you in some sort, as putting you in mind because of the grace that is given to me of the Most High.
Right. So Paul was given a grace, right, to teach the Gentiles. We don't.
That I should be the minister of Yahushua HaMashiach to the Gentiles, ministering the gospel of God, that the offering up of the Gentiles might be acceptable, being sanctified by the Holy Ghost.
Check that out. So you have to sanctify, right, the Gentiles, man. Get them in order. Teach them. Have them to understand the truth and the grace of our Lord Yahushua, that the offering up of them may be well sacrificed and pleasing to the Heavenly Father. Right, that's right. So these are the sacrifices that happens within this priesthood right now. All right, within a spiritual temple and a spiritual altar. Yeah, one more.
And this is going into the law, showing how Yahushua, he's that more acceptable sacrifice. Right, it's Numbers 7. It's like Numbers chapter 8 and verse. I'm gonna start at verse. I'll start at verse 20. It reads, so Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel did to the Levites according unto all that the Lord commanded Moses concerning the Levites. So did the children of Israel unto them. And the Levites were purified, and they washed their clothes. And Aaron offered them as an offering before the Lord. And Aaron made an atonement for them to cleanse them. Right. So also as the brothers were going into, right? Hey, Aaron even had to offer up, right, the Levites to purify and to cleanse them as well, right? Verse number 22. And after that went the Levites in to do their service in the tabernacle of the congregation before Aaron and before his sons, as the Lord had commanded Moses concerning the Levites, so did they unto them. And saying, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, this is that belongeth unto the Levites from 25 years old and upward, they shall go in to wait upon the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. And from the age of 50, they shall cease waiting upon the service, and they shall serve no more, but shall minister with the brethren in the tabernacle of the congregation to keep charge, and shall do no service. Right? Thus shalt thou do unto the Levites touching their charge. So even the Levites, right, or the priests, right, had a certain time limit where they were able to come into, right, the priesthood, and even had a certain age. But Yahushua, right, he is the everlasting. Right? It's Hebrews 7 and verse number 26. For such an high priest became us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and made higher than the heavens, who needeth not daily as those high priests to offer up sacrifice first for his own sins, and then for the people's. For this he did once, right, when he offered up himself. Right, so that the priesthood, right, under the order of Melchizedek, right, you seeing, right, the more perfectness, right, of it, right, through Yahushua, right, being offered up alive, right, everlasting, right. There's no so-called retirement, right. Yahushua doesn't have to purify himself, right, with a ram or bullock, right, and cleanse himself, right, before his sins, right, before he could make atonement for the rest of the nation, right. So it's showing you, right, through the priesthood of Melchizedek, and even more and perfect priesthood.
That's right. That's right. So we're moving on. Elliot Tyson, can you explain Matthew 16 to 28? All right, let's deal with it. St. Matthew chapter 16 and 28.
St. Matthew chapter 16 and verse number 28. And verse 28. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom.
Yeah, this is a regeneration precept, right? Right. So Yahweh Shah is telling the apostles and the men of the Lord that there's still what that generation is going to come back on the earth in due time, and that's when that judgment is going to come. Go to Luke 21 and 29. Right, that's what he's saying. Doesn't mean that they're 2,000, because if that's literal, you know, that means Peter would be 2,000 years old, and John and James, and we got to go find Pontius Pilate right now, man. Right, and Herod, and see what happens to him, man. Right? Oh, he's still here, Herod. Some cave somewhere hiding, man. And we'll go find him, man. Yeah, skin falling off, flaky. And we'll go find these guys, man.
Salaki, this a precept to what is that? Preterism.
Right.
Another one. You got it.
Yeah, Luke. Yeah, that's right. Luke 21 and 29.
Saying Luke chapter 21 and verse number 29. And he spake to them a parable. Behold the fig tree and all the trees.
He said, look at this tree and all of the trees.
When they now shoot forth, ye see and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand.
Yeah, you can see the transition of seasons, man, as it goes from the spring into the summertime. Trees blossom, fruit comes on the branches, and they begin to bloom, and grass comes out, and butterflies, and dragonflies, and bees. You can recognize the change in seasons. Read on.
So likewise ye, when ye see these things come to pass,
when you see these prophecies mentioned come to pass,
know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand.
Right?
Verily I say unto you,
verily I say unto you,
this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled.
Read that again.
This generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled.
That means all of the men that Yahweh Shah talked to around that time, they're here right now. Right? The apostles, you have the righteous women, they're all here, man. The apostle Paul, Stephen, righteous woman Dorcas, Mary, all of those souls are back here right now. You see that? And the Lord said, well, I'm gonna let brothers get in there, but that's the point. What Yahweh Shah said in St. Matthew 16 and 28 is that generation is going to receive judgment in this life right now.
You can go to the book, right? John chapter 11 and verse 25.
St. John chapter 11 and verse 25. Yahweh Shai said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live.
Right. So read that again, King.
Yahweh Shai said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me.
And that's spiritual, man. The Lord brings you back from the dead in this thing, man. We were in the world, we were lost, we were in darkness, but that breath of life from Yahweh Shah brought us back to living. Read on.
Though he were dead, yet shall he live.
Right. Now go to the book of John, chapter 5, and verse 25.
St. John, chapter 5, and verse number 25. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of God, and they that hear shall live.
Right, and this is twofold, man. This is talking about the physical resurrection, and you have a spiritual resurrection. So those men, they're going to come back on the earth, and they're going to always bear witness of Yahweh Shah, and they're never going to be dead. What keeps you alive? What has you to have breath of life? The words of Yahweh Shah. So as we hear them, we continue to live through every generation.
Let's go to Revelation chapter 10, and you can start at verse 10. Right, Revelation 10 and 10.
Revelation chapter 10 and verse 10. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand.
So like you can start at verse 9.
Verse 9. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter. But it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up. and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter.
Right.
And they said unto me, thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings.
Right. So this is John the Revelator saying, you taking this knowledge now, you're gonna have to use it again in a time that's coming soon. Well, thousands of years later, right? That's one. Let's go to Daniel 12, and we can start at verse 12. Right back to Daniel. Right. So it's not a literal. These people are 2,000 years old walking around, but nobody's ever seen them before. Right. It's a spiritual thing, man, because the Lord recycles spirits, and we've walked upon this earth over and over and over. And there's countless breakdowns and videos that we have on the channel as well with this.
Daniel 12 and verse number 13. But go thou thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest and stand in thy lot at the end of thy days.
So Daniel's the elect, right? His spot is already sealed. He may be 127th in line. I don't know, 142,000 in line, but his lot is already sealed. But Daniel's already given up the ghost, right? So he's back on this earth again, right? Doing the same thing he was doing before, prophesying, praying, waking his people up, rebuking people, right? As far as the other elect as well, they doing the same thing.
One more, another one, real quick. 2 Ezra 6 and 26.
2 Ezra 6 and verse number 26. 6 and verse 26. And the men that are received shall see it, who have not tasted death from their birth, and the heart of the inhabitants shall be changed and turned into another meaning.
Yeah, certain men that have never tasted death from their birth, right? Right? Meaning what? These men have always been in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. That's what it's saying. Because the saints don't die. What happens to the saints? They come back, but they fall asleep. Right? They fall asleep. So that's what it means. They don't taste death. Right? Give me real quick. Well, go to John. What'd you read? John 11 and what? 10? Get John 11 and 10, I believe. Right? So when you are in this truth and you are one of the elect, you never die. You just fall asleep. That's what it means. You don't taste death since your birth. From the time you're here, you have never died. Now, these other nations, they died. There's no hope in them. But you fall asleep and hope to be awakened for the resurrection or to be born again in Yahushua. Right? So bring that up. John 11 and 10.
The book of St. John, chapter 11 and verse 10. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbles because there is no light in him. These things said he, and after that he said unto them, our friend Lazarus sleepeth.
What?
Our friend Lazarus sleepeth.
Right?
But I go that I may awake him out of sleep.
Because Lazarus was what? Dead. Right? So-called dead. Yahushua said, no, he's asleep. Go on.
Then said his disciples, Lord, if he sleep, he shall do well.
So they didn't know what was going on. Just let him sleep, Lord. You know, he's probably tired. I had a hard day at work. Right? But they didn't know what was going on. Go on.
Howbeit, Yahushua spake of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking rest and sleep.
Right? This is plain. Go on.
Then said Yahushua unto them plainly.
Oh, yeah, he just broke it down to him. And what did he say?
Lazarus is dead.
Straight up. Because, you know, they didn't know. It was on a low level at that time. He was getting too deep. So, hey, look, he's dead. You know? Go on. And then let's see what else happened.
Verse 15. And I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent ye may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him.
Right. He said, if I was there, there would be no miracle and you wouldn't believe. Right. I'm glad I wasn't there so I could do this miracle and you could believe on the Most High. Go on.
Then said Thomas.
And here's what Thomas said. Read.
Which is called Didymus.
Right.
Unto his fellow disciples.
Here's what he told the apostles.
Let us also go that we may die with him.
So they don't know what's going on. Right. But Yahushua broke it down to him. And that's zeal, though. That's zeal, man. You know, the apostles had zeal at this time, but the Most High gave them the increase, right? So,
God, I got one more. Let's go to Job 19 and 25.
yeah.
Job chapter 19 and verse number 25. For I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. And though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see the Most High.
So how is Job gonna see the Lord come back? Right? How's he gonna see? Though worms have destroyed his flesh, but he's gonna see them with his bodily eyes, right? One more.
Come. Whom I shall see for myself, and mine eyes shall behold, and not another, though my reins be consumed within me.
So, like the brother said, those that are in the Lord, they just fall asleep, right? And they get a renewed body, but the same spirit is there. So he's gonna see the Lord at the end. Another, he's still in his elect part.
Yes, I'm not. All right, moving on. From Livewire. What is an Enoch calendar? And is the book of Enoch and this Enoch calendar valid? There's a lot of people counting their feast days using Enoch calendar. I'm just looking for some understanding. That's how the question is. Right? All caps. Well, that's all right, brother. Now, I read the book of Enoch before, I came into, the truth. And it's nothing but madness and folly concerning the book of Enoch. Now, the Enoch calendar, if I'm not mistaken, it operates pretty much like a solar calendar at around 365 days. Right? You got it?
God. So the Enoch calendar is an ancient calendar described in the pseudo-pigraphical book of Enoch.
And pseudo meaning false, right? So it's false writings, right? Graphical meaning writing, pseudo meaning false. So it's false writings.
Right? It divided the year into 4 seasons of exactly 13 weeks, right? In completion. It don't even make sense.
Right.
Each season consists of 2 30-day months, followed by 1 31-day month, and the 31st day ending the season, so that Enoch's year consisted to exactly 364 days.
Right. Now, in the Bible, go to Genesis 8. Right. The Lord tell you the seasons in the Bible. Seed time, harvest, summer, winter. Right? Was that 8 and I believe it's 22?
It's Genesis 8 and verse 22. While the earth remaineth, seed time and
seed time is springtime. Go on.
And harvest.
Harvest is what? Autumn or fall. Go on.
And cold.
Cold is your winter time.
And heat.
Right. Same thing. Those are the temperatures for the summer and winter. It's going to tell you more.
And summer and winter and day and night shall not cease.
Now, when you go into the Bible gives you the breakdown of the calendar, and we've done that. And go to Genesis 7 and 11, right? And it doesn't add up to 364 days. Right. All right, so bring that up.
Genesis 7 and verse 11. In the 600th year of Noah's life.
And like we always do when we go into this, brothers got to pay attention, right? Because we're going to roll through it fairly quickly, right? So dial in, right? So bring that out again.
Come. Genesis 7 and verse 11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open.
So the flood began on what day? The 17th day of the 2nd month. The 17th day of the 2nd month. Note that. Mark that. Remember that date. Jump to verse 24.
Come. Verse 24. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days.
How long?
150 days.
The flood started on the 17th day of the 2nd month. The waters were on the earth for 150 days. Note that. Mark it. Right? Go on.
Come. Genesis 8 and verse 4.
Right. 3.
Come. Verse 3. And the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated.
The water started abating, going down after 150 days. Read.
And the ark rested in the seventh month on the 17th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat.
All right, we got it, right? So we got the flood started on the 17th day of the second month. The waters were on the earth for 150 days. The ark rested and the flood was over on the 17th day of the seventh month. So the difference between the second month and the seventh month is how many months? 5 months. Within those 5 months, it was how many days? 150 days. So how many days are each month? Biblically, 30 days, right? So how many months are in a year? Go to Esther 2 and 11, right? Esther, so you don't have to go into the book of Enoch because the Most High gives you the breakdown of the biblical calendar and the scriptures, right? So bring that up. And the book of Enoch is garbage, trash, like one said, trash, man. You said what?
Dumpster juice.
Dumpster juice, man. Right? That's some filth right there. Right. Wet trash bag, man. Bring that up.
Esther chapter 2.
We ought to do one on Enoch. We did something like that. Enoch, I think you did a cold cut. Brother did one on Joshua. We ought to just go straight through Joshua, Enoch, Jubilees, and it's another one too, man. The epics of Gilgamesh that you brothers are lusting after. You tuck it under your bed.
Third and fourth Maccabees.
Third and fourth, second Baruch. The Apocalypse of Saint Mary. The hidden journeys of Rachel and Leah. We're not reading the hidden journeys of Rachel and Leah, man.
Adam and Eve, Volume 1 and 2.
Right, the testament of the 12 patriarchs. Right, the assumption of Abraham. Yeah, the Gospel of Thomas. Right, the hidden dark secrets of Moab in the cave. Right, that's madness, man. And the Lord appeared to, like we always say, the Lord appeared to Moab by night, man. Oh Moab, where art thou? Here I am, Lord. I have a message for you, O Moab. Who? Me? Yes, even you, Moab. Even upon you shall this message come. And that's how those books of Enoch are written, man. And people start falling for it, man. Oh wow, this is deep, man. Moab said, even upon me. So just because somebody used Old English, don't mean it's biblical. You got a point? You said what? See, that's the gospel of Nicodemus, man. Earthly things. Right?
Or the gospel of Clement.
Yeah, the gospel of Clement. That's right. There's a lot of things, pseudepigraphal books. Right? But we're going to finish that. So it's 30 days in each month. Go to Esther 2 and 11 and show you how many months are in a year.
Esther 2 and verse 11. And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her.
Right.
Now, when every maid's turn was come to go in to King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months.
12 months.
According to the manner of the women, for so were the days of their purification accomplished.
So they had purification for 12 months before they approached the king. The king didn't just deal with anybody, man. He said, you set aside your 12 months to purify yourself. Jake don't think like that now, man. First, whatever pop in your damn messages and say shalom, you just dive into it, man. You're not like these ancient kings who said, I'm going to give you 12 months, man, then I'll deal with you. Purify yourself, right? Did you frankincense and myrrh? Right? Did you bathe in the myrrh and your sweet odors? No, I forgot. All right, we're moving on, man. Right? That's how the king was, man. Right? You had to get down with the program. Jake, you're on the lower level now, man. Yeah, he was a heathen, man. But that's how ancient kings thought. Right? Go on.
To wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh.
So now the year is being divided. 6 months with oil and myrrh.
And 6 months with sweet odors and with other things for the purifying of the women.
So how many months in a year? 12 months. Right? We covered how many days are in each month? 30 days. We went into it and showed 360 according to the Most High. There in Esau right now, we operate off of a solar. When I say we, I'm speaking about this man's system. They operate off of a solar year. That's why it's 365.25 days in a year. And every 0.25 days becomes what? A leap year. Right? 0.25 times 4 is 1, so they make it a leap year every 4 years, which is not according to the Most High. And then you have a lunar calendar, how we operate seasonal feasts, which is 354.11 days. It's around 29.5 days in each lunar cycle. If you add up a solar year, 365, can the brother do the math? Pull it up. 365.25, and then we'll add up 354.11 and divide it by 2. It adds up to your biblical year. 42.30. No, 354.11 plus 365.25. You get 720 and you divide it by 2. No, you get 360.
359.7.
Yeah, I got 359.
Yeah, it's roughly 360. Right, because your lunar cycle, things happen. Right. Right. So you have 360 days in a year. Why? Because the sun serves its purpose and the moon serves its purpose. And you use both of those to determine how your calendar operates. So you don't have to go into the book of Enoch where they say it's 13 times 4. 4 seasons and 13 months.
And every third month is 31 days.
Yeah, that's madness, right? That's madness, right? You're winging it.
Right.
They're just throwing out wild numbers out there, man. And it's not according to the Most High.
Right.
Right? What's that?
One quick point. And on the Cold Cuts channel, I did a breakdown on it too, touching on a specific subject. The brothers want further edification.
You know the name of the video, so they can find it.
It's called Sun, Moon, and Stars in numerology.
I
Yeah,
have a question. So you said you're losing days when you follow the lunar calendar, basically, right?
You're not necessarily losing days. That's how that cycle operates. So if you're operating strictly off of a lunar calendar and your cycle is 29.5 days, and you stick to that, by the time you finish your 12th moon, it's going to be around 354 or 355 days. But you're losing days in the sense that if you switch from a solar calendar to a lunar calendar, you'll be losing around 11 days or so. And that's what would happen in this man's system if he switched out and switched time again and said, well, we're going to use the moon instead of the sun. They both operate in tandem to be able to determine your biblical year.
Right. And that's against Genesis 1 and 14, right? Because you use the moon to determine when your months come in. You don't count it just by days. Or you might as well bring that out, Genesis 1 and 14.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse number 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
Right. So the moon is there to determine the signs, the seasons, the month you're in. It doesn't determine, go back to it, when the Sabbath is. The Sabbath is determined strictly on 6 days and then you rest. 6 days and then you rest. Right? We keep walking.
And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, and God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth and to rule over the day and over the night and divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good.
Right. And if you want more of a deeper understanding, we did the Let's Not Play Games.
Lunar Sabbath obliterated.
Obliterated.
Yeah.
Right.
And the brother did a cold cut and also did a cold cut on the past new moon, going into the ordinances of the heavens. So going into that, so brothers could tune into these cold cuts, and you'll get more understanding, Lord willing, of how the sun and the moon are used and what they're used for spiritually and physically. Yes, I know. All right, so we're moving on. It's a good question, though. Okay. From Azai. What does 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verses 10 through 12 going into? Right, let's deal with it. 2nd Ezra chapter
2nd
9.
Ezra chapter 9 and verse 10. For such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me, and they that have loathed my law while they had yet liberty, and when as yet place of repentance was open unto them, understood not, but despised it, the same must know it after death by pain.
So give me Acts 24 and 15. So all it's speaking about is men that live life in wickedness and how they're going to be resurrected and destroyed. Right? It's not talking about you go to hell. A lot of brothers hear that and they think about a fiery inferno with a red man with horns on, molesting with a pitchfork. Day in and day out, man. Right? Constantly just burning and burning. That's insane, man. And their flesh is always on fire. So after you die, you get back put in a fleshly body. The whole thing is madness, man. For eternity. Right? Bring that up.
Acts.
Only Esau will create something so wicked and vile, man.
Yeah, poked in the cheek.
Yeah, getting poked with a pitchfork, man. You know? Bring that up. They got that 3-headed dog down there. Brothers know what I'm talking about. Cerberus. Yeah, Hades beast, and you gotta pay the toll. We gotta go into hell too, man. The heavens and the hell. Break down. All right, but bring that up.
Acts chapter
You
24.
gotta pay the toll.
Acts
Yeah.
24 and 15. And have hope towards the Most High, which they themselves also, that there shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and unjust.
And what?
And
So
unjust.
there's a resurrection divided into two different lots. Men that may have been martyred or died in the truth, they're going to be resurrected and beamed up in the chariots. That's what Amos went into in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, 13 on down. You have another lot for the resurrection. The wicked men. Maybe they committed suicide, right? Maybe they got beat to death in Jacob's trouble. Maybe they got hit by a missile. Maybe they starved during the famine. They're going to be resurrected too. But guess what? They're going to be resurrected and be destroyed. That's what it means. The same must know it after death by pain. A lot of people think they can escape. And this is your only judgment on the earth right now. The Most High is going to bring you back, man. Because give me one more, Revelation chapter 20 and verse 12. The Most High is going to get up with everybody, man. Everybody's going to have to deal with the judgment. That's judgment day. When Yahweh shall returns, it's judgment day. People are going to be coming out the grave, looking around, trying to throw rocks at the chariot. I hate you, and trying to figure out, get dirt out their eyes and climb on the tree and fight against the Lord, and the Lord going to shoot them down with a missile, man. Right there, some people going to come out the grave and say, call Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man. So bring that up.
Revelation 20 verse 12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works.
Yeah, Christianity tells you it's going to be a long single file line. And you have to go up there, and the Most High is sitting on his throne, and Peter's there, and there's a line. And there's guys that make YouTube videos that they had experiences on Judgment Day. It's this one brother, I don't know if the brother seen it. That one brother, he made the video, got like millions of views. He said the Most High was up there, and it was exploding people, and he was like, boom, then the next. That's not biblical.
Crying under the table.
Crying. He was just looking to make money, man. Looking for the come up. That's not what that's talking about. When Yahweh Shah returns, the judgment day is going to transpire on the earth. But the Most High is going to get the judgment from the third heaven. He's going to give that decree to Yahweh Shah, and everybody on the earth is going to either be delivered or be destroyed. So read on.
Verse 13. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell.
Death and hell is what? The grave. Right? Men that have died in the grave. Because if this is actual hell, why would this happen? Go on.
And death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them.
Hold on. If hell is a real place, why did they get probation? Parole. Is there a hell parole according to the Most High? You get out, you get a chance, you can finally talk to the judge, and maybe you can get out. There's no hell parole. Right? So the grave is gonna spew these men out,
Bonded out.
Right.
God. Death and hell delivered up the dead that were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works.
Right, according to the laws. Go on.
And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire.
Meaning death will no longer have dominion upon the righteous. Go on.
This is the second death.
Read.
And whosoever was not found written in the book of life,
if you're not one of the elect,
was cast into the lake of fire.
You'll be destroyed by Yahushua. That's plain. So the same must know it after death by pain. That's that lake of fire that you will be destroyed by when Yahushua returns with the chariots.
Quick precept. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 26. Right? Hell isn't like when Stinkmeaner went to in the boondocks, he went down and he was beating up demons, and Satan told him, "You're too much for hell. Go back up there." Right? That's not hell in the Bible, man. That comes from a story called Dante's Inferno.
Right.
Right? He went down into the chambers of hell to deliver the 7 layers of hell to get Beatrice, his beloved. Right? Crazy, man. And that's used in Catholicism to scare you into obedience, man. To make you think the way that they want you to think. That's why, the fears of the Lord are taught by the precepts of men. Right? It's not thus saith the Lord. Right, let's bring it out, okay?
Hebrews chapter 10 and verse number 26. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins, but a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries. He that despised Moses' law.
These are the people who loathe the law, man. I'm not keeping the Sabbath. I'm gonna do what I want.
Right.
Feast days, we doing this, and that. My birthday's the highest high holy day of all. Right? These are the people who loathe Moses' law, man.
He that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses, of how much sore punishment.
And that's talking about in the ancient world. You needed 2 or 3 witnesses before you got put to death. I can't say this man stole and murdered somebody and there was nobody who witnessed it. Right? When you had those 2 or 3 witnesses, then the blood was shed for the sins and atrocities that they committed. Right? Start at 29 again, Bobby Show.
Verse 29. Of how much sore punishment, suppose ye, shall he be thought worthy, who have trodden underfoot the Son of God, and have counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified an unholy thing, and have done despite unto the Spirit of grace.
Right? These people are going to receive a much sorer judgment, man. Right? That's the lake of fire. Right? Let's go to Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. Touching on Daniel 12 a lot. Right? So those who feel as though they can do as they please and take the blood of the Lamb for granted and trot in the Son of Man, right? Those are going to be the ones who's looking for a fearful judgment, right? Those are why our people are getting slain all the time. And those people are getting slain because they glorify gang life, that murder lifestyle that's being pushed upon our people. Right. Those are the people who are going to be receiving that judgment because they did not fear the Lord. They despised the law of the Lord. Right, let's go to Daniel 12.
Daniel 12 and verse 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up for the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book.
Right, so those who are part of the elect, their names are written in it. Right, we're approaching Jacob's trouble. This isn't Jacob's trouble, right? Contrary to what some people may teach, right? We're free to do as we want. We can go to the park, right? Sit down, write melodies. We can do whatever we want, right? But it's that time approaching that we're coming that has not been on the earth, right? Let's go to verse 2.
Verse 2. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth.
So those who are in hell or in the grave,
shall awake, some to everlasting life.
Those who be part of the elect, those get the white robes, they get the crowns put on their head. Well done, faithful servant, right? Enter into your rest.
And some to shame and everlasting contempt.
Those words that you never want to hear. Depart from me, right? I never knew thee. Worker of iniquity, man, right? Then that's when you hear that poof, and you get blown away.
Damn.
Nah, but you die, man. You get that second death, man. You get that missile to the head, right? You enjoy Babylon's fire, man.
Right. Let me get 2 Maccabees chapter 12 and verse number 42.
2 Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 42. Betook themselves unto prayer and besought him that the sin committed might wholly be put out of remembrance. Besides that, noble Judas exhorted the people to keep themselves from sin, for so much as they saw before their eyes the things that came to pass for the sins of those that were slain.
Right. So he saw all of the sins of those that were slain. So what did Judas Maccabees want? He wanted to pray for those souls because he knew about the resurrection. Right, read on.
And when he had made,
because there would be no point of praying for him if he knew their demise was already set, man. Right. He knew there was a resurrection into life. Read on.
And when he had made a gathering throughout the company to the sum of 2,000 drachms of silver, he sent it to Jerusalem to offer a sin offering, doing therein very well and honestly, and that he was mindful of the resurrection.
It said he was mindful of the resurrection. Read on.
For if he had not hoped,
if he had what?
If he had not hoped,
if he had not hoped
that they were slain should have risen again, it had been superfluous and vain to pray for the dead.
Check that out, bro. So he knew about the sins and all the atrocities that happened to him. So he gathered up the remnant to pray and come before the Lord and gather collection, right? So they could offer up a sin offering for those men that in the day of resurrection they could be saved into everlasting life.
That's right. That's right. Rolling through it, right? Rolling through.
From Qua Harris. Is it unlawful to get a shape up and line your beard up? Let's go to the law, right? Let's go to the book of Leviticus, the 19th chapter, right? Is it unlawful? Can you get the zigzags? The what's that? Ludicrous, and it's ludicrous sideburn. Riffraff. Can you get the riffraff and the ludicrous, like the brother said, huh? Right? So you can't cut your natural line into your beard, right? You got to know where your natural line is and don't cut into your natural line, right? So bring that up.
Come. Leviticus chapter 19 and verse number 27. Ye shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard.
Right? I mean, that's plain, right? That's plain, right?
Yeah, that's something. Right. You go to the book.
2 Samuel 19 and 24.
2 Samuel chapter 19 and verse number 24. Sorry. 2 Samuel 19 and verse 24. And Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king,
right?
And had neither dressed his feet, nor trimmed his beard, nor washed his clothes from the day the king departed until the day he came again.
Right. So there's nothing wrong with trimming your beard. You may have one part of your beard that may grow longer than the other, or you may have a scraggly beard, or whatever the case may be, or you may have something that you don't like that you want to trim down to make sure that everything is even, man. But you don't want to shave off your beard or mar into your beard. Mar means destroy. Or you don't want to put a line right here. You got certain styles, people putting all type of parts in their beards.
Mutton chops.
Right, the mutton chop. Right? Right, Salaki.
Put your damn chin out. Like a creep.
And the ludicrous. right? You go into the so-called barbershop and say, "Give me the Luda." That's off, man.
Right.
And Ludacris is a damn fool for doing this, man. A demon, right? A demon. What possessed your mind to go in there to chop your beard the way it was, man? You want to grow your beard out and have a manly beard. Let's get the classic. Let's get the book of Psalms, chapter 133, verse number 2.
Psalms chapter 133 and verse number 2. It reads, "It is like the precious ointment upon the beard that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard,
Right?
that went down to the skirts of his garment."
So Aaron's beard was so big, it went all the way down to the skirts of his garment. That's mighty, man. And you have to understand that was key in the ancient world. You see your Rick Rosses and your so-called James Hardens. That's nothing to the ancient world, man. Hey, Aaron was walking around looking mighty, man. You understand? Had the mitre on, the crown, the breastplate, right? The long garment, the long beard, right? We got to get back to our heritage of how our forefathers used to look, man, and stop trying to trim our ways to fit into the society.
And real quick, he didn't have that beard. And brother seen Kill Bill, the Moabite man, who, you know, they got them long, stringy beards, and people, wow, look at his beard. And that's not a mighty beard, man. That beard that does this, and you get this, that's not what it's talking about. You know, we got coarse, thick hair, man. Right? Yeah, this guy. Right? He's not talking about this man.
Blowing in the wind.
Right? So-called Master Pai Mai, man. Right? From Kill Bill, man. That's not the mighty beard. So, you know, Aaron's beard had to be maybe 3 feet wide. You know, Jake, get this. You just get this little part. And it kind of grow long, but the rest of it can't keep up, huh? This Aaron's beard had to be, what, 4 feet, man? 4 feet long, maybe 3 feet wide, man. Right? With a long, you probably had people just combing his beard, pouring oil on it like the spray, man, and just combing his beard with 2 hands, man. You know? Yeah, so, you know, these men had mighty beards back then. Right? And you can't wait till your beard come in, man.
God.
Soul patch.
Yeah, this from the brother. Yeah, Soul Patch, man. Right, grow your beard out, man. It's nothing more comely for a man to have a beard, man. Women don't desire men who they, you know, you rub their face and then it's like you remind me of my son, right? Brothers growing out, man, and a barber.
That's all riff raff.
That was terrible, man. And a barber isn't a new profession, right? There's been barbers. It's nothing new under the sun. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 5 and verse 1. So it was a profession in the ancient world to be a barber. And they had barber razors. They had clippers. Like the brother said, there's nothing wrong with trimming yourself, right? And cleaning yourself up and be presentable, right? You don't want to come before the king and look like you've been hiding in the mountain for 4 years. Right, clean yourself up, man. We're clean people.
And Salaki, one quick point. I know a lot of men that their mustache kind of grows over to their so-called lip, so it can kind of prevent you from eating.
And they eat, they just eat it. They don't even take care of it, man. Right? Just pull it down in your mouth and just do God knows what, man. And wrap it around your finger like a creep.
Trim it down.
Right. You know, sometimes you don't go to the barber shop in a while and it happens, man, you know. But clean yourself up, man. Let's bring that out.
Right. The book of Ezekiel, see that? 5 and verse 1. "And thou, son of man, take thee a sharp knife, take thee a barber's razor, a barber's razor, and cause it to pass upon thine head and upon thy beard. Then take thee the balances to weigh and divide the head."
Right. So you definitely had barbers in the ancient world. Men, it probably was the same way that we have it now, man. Right, you come sit in a chair and put a cloth on you, you know, clean you up, man. You got a feast day coming up, right? Our people wasn't walking around with just hairlines looking crazy and people just looking wild and your beard out of control, man. We was a clean people, man. Right? We was the salt of the earth, man. That's why you got damn John B trying to be like us, man. All these Edomites want to be like us because we carried ourselves in a beautiful way. Right? So don't let nobody tell you that it's not okay to clean your beard up, man. But take care of yourself.
That's right. So we're moving on. From Isaiah How long will it take for the kingdom to be built? Well, wouldn't we like to know? Right? I would like to know that one, man. Right? But there's no account for how long it's going to take. So an exact date on the kingdom being built. We know that there's prophecies that have to transpire. Give me real quick Ecclesiasticus chapter 3 and 21. Right? We can't say March 5th, right? 2046. Expect to be in your house, in your mansion, and you'll have 4 slaves by the 9th. Right? That would be madness, man.
Right.
Bring that up.
Sirach 3 and 21. Seek not out the things that are too hard for thee, neither search the things that are above thy strength.
Yeah, certain things are too high for us. And if a brother says he knows the exact year, he's going off. I know this month and I know the day and the hour, right? I know who's going to be where and this is going to happen. The Lord said, I have not seen, nor ear heard, neither hath the intimacy of the hearts of man, the things that the Most High has prepared or promised for them that love him, man. Right? So we have prophecies when you read Ezekiel, the 39th chapter, it speaks about burying the bodies and taking the nations and putting them in captivity. There's a sequence of events that have to happen. But the timeline of that is documented in the scriptures.
I was about to say, you go to Isaiah chapter 61, verse number 4. Right, so like the brother was going into, it's a lot of things that have to come to pass, and we don't know how long each one of those prophecies are going to be. Right, it could be years, it could be months. The Lord could speed things up, but we do know that there are precious stones in the earth that these heathens are going to have to dig out, and go to these different places, these owls, these clefts, right, underground, and dig out all of these precious stones to build up the kingdom. And they're not going to have immortal bodies. So you're going to have to bear the burdens on a physical level, man. How long would it take you to bear a stone? And they're not going to have Bob the Builder in the kingdom. You're not going to see Esau on the joystick with that long ball that you see, man. And you're driving to work every day. That thing that's never built. 25 years later, it's in the same spot, jacking the same damn switch, man. Right? It's not going to be like that in the kingdom. So they're going to have to pick up these stones. They're going to have to use one another. They're going to have to get into it on a physical level, man, and sweat it out. All right, bring it out, King.
Sirach chapter 61 and verse 4. And they shall build the old waste. They shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations.
Right, there are many generations. Read on.
And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers.
And that's going to take time, man. It's not going to happen immediately like a snap of a finger. You're not going to get beamed down and everything's laid out, man. Everybody's sweating. They just went on their break. They got their water. It's not going to happen like that, man. It's going to take time for these things to happen. And the Lord is a God in order, right? Everything is measured through time. So as these things come to pass and these precepts and these prophecies, right, it's all in the Most High's time.
Done. Now we're moving on. That's right. Okay, from Quadan. Are the heathen/slaves going to experience sickness and death in the kingdom? Or will they have immortal bodies like Yasha'Allah? No, they will never have immortal bodies. Right? They won't have, listen, they're going to die, man. Right? They're going to get old. They're going to get sick. They're going to, give me Sirach chapter 39 and 28, right? They're going to go through famines if they don't submit. They're going to stub their toe. Their back is going to hurt. They're going to itch. They're going to have allergies, rashes,
extreme debt,
eczema, right? Bad days. All of the vile things we deal with, man.
Hey, they're going to have to go through the curses.
Yeah, you got to go through this, man. You got to deal with it, man. If you're eating like watching this, you got to deal with it, man. Maybe I can make it. No, brother, you got to deal with the curses, man. That's Deuteronomy 30th chapter. Right, so bring that up. Sirach 39. Right, because these spirits ain't going nowhere, man.
Sirach 39 and verse number 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance.
You see that? So the both sides, these spirits, they're not going to affect us anymore. If we make it to the kingdom, they're not going to affect us, but they will affect these other nations and do damage. Go on.
Which in their fury lay on sword strokes.
Right.
In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them.
Right?
Fire and hell and famine and death. All these things were created for vengeance.
For disobedience of the Most High will put these spirits on you. Read on.
Teeth of wild beasts.
You're gonna be attacked by wild beasts, man. Wild lions and leopards, and they go out. We tell them to go chop some wood down. The bear come out. Hey, that's on them, right? That's on you, man. That's your world, man. We found out, you ain't make it out. Hey, look, next man go out there, man. We're not gonna send men out there to slay like David was out there slaying bears and lions, man. That's on you, right? So go on.
And scorpions.
Hey, they gonna have wild scorpions, man. Scorpions that live in desert type of areas. Don't if you come to us, you got stung by a scorpion. I mean, hey, look, man, we may give you a little bit of ointment because we need you to work, but hey, guess what, man? You gotta deal with that one too. Read on.
And serpents.
And what?
And serpents.
Shouldn't the serpent get bit by a serpent? Right? That's your judgment, man.
Right.
Read on.
And the sword.
And the what?
And the sword.
Read.
Punishing the wicked to destruction.
So they're going to have sicknesses. Because remember, sicknesses are a result of what? Demons. There are demons that bound you up. So the Most High is going to sick these demons on these nations. They're going to have fevers, migraines. What's another sickness that brothers hate, man? Yeah, diabetes. One more. Give me Deuteronomy 28 and 59. Yeah, they're going to have sinus infections, migraines. Right? Tuberculosis. Gout. That's right. High blood pressure. Toothaches. Gangrene. That's right. Bring that up.
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 59.
Right?
Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful.
See, the curse, and the brother paraphrased in Deuteronomy 30 and 7, it says all these curses that happen to us are going to happen to them. So here's one of the plagues. He's going to make these plagues wonderful. Go on.
Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance.
And of what?
Of long continuance.
We have generational diseases. They're going to have generational diseases. Read on.
And swords.
Oh, and they're not going to have any Medicare. No Medicaid. Life insurance policies, premiums, and they're not going to deal with that, man. And you're sick, you better figure it out. Right? We might show you a picture of the herbs in the fields. You better go figure out where they at, huh? And don't take 2 days because you're going to miss mealtime. Right. You're out there too long, we ring that bell. You're going to be out there in the woods, man, gathering lilies, man. Wasting your damn time because you gathered the wrong herbs and you missed out on your grits. Right? So that's on you, man. Like you nations, we're going to have a ball with you, man. Right? Go on.
And sore sicknesses.
Right?
And of long continuance.
Right?
Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee.
Go on.
Also, every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of the law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be strong.
They're going to have lymph nodes, leukemia. They're going to have chapped lips. They're going to have skin infections. But they're going to have all types of sicknesses, man. Right? So there's no healing. There's no Raphael coming to cure them, man. Right? There's going to be long plagues upon these heathen. They're not going to have it. It's not just, okay, building up the kingdom. Their physical nature is going to be affected, man. Right? The brothers got it.
All right, come. You can get the book of Sirach, chapter 40 and verse number 8. Right number precept that what the brother's going into. And right now, Esau can go to CVS, Walgreens, Walmart. It's not going to be like that in the kingdom, man. They got to look up and say, Master. Right? Bring that up.
Sirach, chapter 40 and verse 8. Such things happen unto all flesh, both man and beast, and that is sevenfold more upon sinners.
What the Lord say?
Sevenfold more upon sinners.
It's going to be sevenfold more. All of these things that you read about in Sirach, the 40th chapter, they happen to all flesh. Everybody has bad dreams. Everybody suffers infirmities. Everybody suffers all of these things that the Heavenly Father has created, right? All races and nations. But nevertheless, it's going to be sevenfold harder and more severe upon the sinners, man. Who's the chief sinner? Who's the man of sin? Esau, man. So he's going to be the one that has skin cancer. He's going to be the one that's having all of these type of diseases, right? Read on.
Death and bloodshed.
So death going to be the Esau. Bloodshed going to be the Esau. Strife. They're going to be fighting one another in the kingdom, huh?
Right.
They're going to be sitting up there, and they literally laid us down. I know brother seen the book of Jenga. Come on, boy. And they was fighting. They was going back and forth. And they was having a ball. They had the cigars in their mouth, man. They had the damn fire. They was sitting up there like this was an event, man. Right. But hey, that's going to happen to Esau. Esau going to be fighting one another. Gang banging. All that's going to happen, man.
They call those Mandingo fights.
Right. See that? That's good. Man, Mandingo fights. Right? Strife. Read on.
And sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and the scourge.
And the scourge. This is the point. Read on.
These things are created for the wicked.
No, the righteous.
For the wicked.
For the wicked, man. So all these things we're reading about, right, is created for the wicked. And the wicked are going to have to play these things out. They're not only going to have to deal with slavery, but they're going to have to deal with all the infirmities that the Lord created.
Let's go to the law. Let's go to Leviticus 25 and verse 44. And their children, man, they're gonna be our inheritance, man. We're gonna possess them. We're gonna give them to our children, and their children's children's children are gonna be for our children's children's children, man. Right? That's generational wealth for real, man.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 25 and verse number 44.
So, like you, when you think of Deuteronomy 30 and 7, man, you got to think deep into it, man. Think of all the afflictions that we're going through, man. Everything you hate in this life. And just think about it on your enemies, man. That'll make you go 10 times harder, man. Having to wake up at 4 in the morning to go to work, right? Like the brother said, cavities, sinus infections. Them things tear you up, man. Right? Broken bones. Right, you walk in and then you step off the curb and you sprain your ankle real bad. All these calamities are going to be coming to them. And even the smallest thing you hate, it's going to be magnified times 7, like the brother said, right? Schizophrenia, right? They're going to have drug dealers to one another, man. Selling drugs to one another. You still better come and pick in my field, right? But these are the things that are coming to our enemies, man. You're going to have doped out Elamites, right? It's not just going to be Esau, man. All the nations are going to inherit in these curses. Because all the nations had a hand in afflicting us, right?
Leviticus 25 and 44. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids.
So they're going to come over to where we're at. Say this brother lives in Antioch, but we all going to want to dwell in Jerusalem, right? We're going to bring them from Jerusalem to Antioch on a ship, bound up, right? And we're going to pass them along, and we're going to sell them one to another, man. You're going to have the highest slave trade ever, man, right? Brothers selling kush over here, selling ham over here, whatever you want, man. It's your pickings, right?
Verse 45. Moreover, the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession.
So all their children do not belong to them. That's just more of our increase, man. That's all praises to the Most High. If they have 30 kids in the span of their life, my field will be bountiful. Our fields will be bountiful, right? You can get one more verse, King.
Verse 46. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one another with rigor.
Right? And it's not going to be any, what they call it, water jug talk. It's not going to be none of that.
Yeah.
Cooler talk. Right?
Yeah.
You're not talking about how your life sucks and people are sad for you. No, everybody's life is going to be equal hell, man. This motivates me, man. You know what I'm saying? I really hate this captivity. and I can't wait until these heathens get what we get. Times 7.
And the brother I now sent this in. It's coming in hot, right? This is the diseases of early Egyptians. So let's see some of the plagues. So we read in Deuteronomy 28, 59 through 61, that they're going to go through the plagues of Egypt, right? So let's read this. It reads, these have disclosed many points of identity of the diseases up from 2,000 to 4,000 years ago, and the diseases of the present day. So I'm going to get straight to the point. Renal and vesical calculi were common. Some, I believe that goes to your kidneys and your system like that, right? They're going to get UTIs and all types of stuff. It reads, bacterial infections, malignant disease, gout, leprosy, infantile paralysis, damn, and appendicitis seem to have existed in the days of Pharaoh, while arteriosclerosis was common then as now. So they're going to be catching hell, man. All right, kidney stones and all types of stuff. Yep, sickle cell. All right, so we're moving on. Okay, from Nizrael, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Nizrael. I had a miscarriage in the world when living with my father. It's Sirach 42 and 10, the reason why I'm having trouble getting pregnant. If not, what does that precept mean? I'm sorry to hear that, sister. All right, that's unfortunate. Let's go to Sirach chapter 42 and verse 10.
Sirach chapter 42 and verse 10. In her virginity,
Start at 9.
Verse 9. The father waketh for the daughter, when no man knoweth, and the care for her taketh away sleep, when she is young, lest she pass away the flower of her age, and being married, lest she should be hated.
So this shows how the father cared for the daughter. The women were expected in the ancient world to be married at a young age. I'm not talking about 8 years old, right? 7 years old, right? You know, that's that post-puberty age, maybe 16, 17. We don't know, right? But it was a fairly young age. Go on. It says, and being married, lest she should be hated. Because if a woman wasn't married, guess who would hate her? Her father. Right? So the father will get on, you can't get nothing right. You can't get no husband. Right? What the hell is wrong with you, man? You've been in my house there 15 years, 20 years, eating all of the food, man. Right? You doing it, go get a husband, man. I'm expecting the dowry out of you, man. I thought when you was born, I get 250 shekels, man. Right? You got a point?
Yeah, you see that in the Woman King, the movie. Father gave his daughter over to the army because she couldn't get married.
Wow.
At a young age.
You see that?
Expecting a dowry from a rich man.
Oh, he was?
Yeah,
you see, that's the spirit, man. I haven't even seen the movie, man. Right? But that's how it was in the ancient world. They expected big things out of you, man. Right? So if you can't get married, they even tell you in certain places, I think like China or Korea, if you're not married by like the age of I think like 20 or something, and they'll disown you. Right? Your parents will disown you. They don't put them ancient nations don't play around with that stuff, man. You can't be 35 in your mother house, man. Somebody working in my masters. They're not going for that, man.
So, Mikey, I think it's China or Japan. They just raised the age of consent over there to 16, and it was 30.
Yep. So they're a sick. It's a sick kingdom, man. So let's read on.
Verse 10.
See, they had ancient minds. If you apply that mentality, now they'll say you're being toxic, masculine. What do they say?
Misogynistic.
Misogynistic or toxic masculinity. Right? Something.
That's only for us.
Yeah, that's only for the Israelite man. Right? So let's go on.
Verse 10. In her virginity, lest she should be defiled and gotten with child in her father's house.
So a woman is supposed to be married as a virgin, right? She's not supposed to be brought with child in her father's house, man. Right? Go on.
And gotten with child in her father's house.
That would be a shame. Imagine your daughter's pregnant in your house, man. Walking around and her dude kind of stay there.
No.
Right? And he kind of eating up the food, or he kind of walking around and wearing your clothes and checking you, man. Right? Go on. Right.
Yeah. right? Lest she be defiled and gone with child in her father's house, and having a husband, lest she should misbehave herself.
So, women need a husband, huh? Or guess what's going to happen? They're going to misbehave. I don't like that. That's mean. Hey, that's what the Most High said. You need a head. Like we need a head. Yahweh Shai is our head, huh? Yahweh Shai is head, and that's the Most High. So if a woman is left to their own devices, they show you that like these Wonder Woman, Amazonian women, just a league of women. And fighting. And they're just in the brute beast, man. There's no structure. There's always fighting the damn Amazonian woman, huh? The Most High is not dealing with the league of women. Right? So a woman need a husband lest they misbehave themselves. So the husband can guide them and teach them how to serve the Most High. Read on.
Lest she should misbehave herself, and when she is married, lest she should be barren.
And being married, lest she should be barren. So the sister said that she had a miscarriage while living with her father in Sirach 42:10, right? I can't say that that's the reason why, right? I'm not the Most High, but what we can say is in the ancient world that was frowned upon, right? It was frowned upon. And go to the book of Ecclesiastes 8 and 17. It was frowned upon in the ancient world. There's a lot of things that happen to us in the world, death and loved ones passing away and trauma that we've been through that we're trying to figure out why, man. Right? Bring that up. We know it's because of sin, but what exact sin is hard to pinpoint, man. So bring that up.
Ecclesiastes 8 and verse number 17. Then I beheld all the work of the Most High, that a man cannot find out the work. That a man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun, because though a man labor to seek it out, yet he shall not find it. Yea, farther, though a wise man think to know it,
you might think you know, but what the Most High say,
yet shall he not be able to find it.
You see that? So we can only go according to what the scriptures say, right? We can't necessarily charge a particular sin and get the reason why every time, right? Some things you can play it out. And look, you committed adultery, you leave in the room, you broke your leg. It ain't gonna be hard to figure out why you broke your leg, brother, because you was running away and you from dealing with this brother's wife. It's not too deep. But when things happen in time past and traumas and things of that nature, it's hard to exactly pinpoint why those things happen.
Ecclesiastes 3:1, right? To everything is a time. It may not have been time for you to bring forth a child at that time. Right? You can't just charge it for one scripture. Like the brother said, sorry to hear about that, but everybody in the comment board, pray for the sisters, that she may be healed.
Yeah, and remember Bathsheba, she lost her, and David, they lost their first son, right? And then the Most High gave him another son and gave him Solomon. Right? He was the wisest king to ever walk the earth, right? So we don't really know the end game of the Most High. This thing is about faith too, huh? Right? It's about having faith in the Most High. A lot of women naturally so get a little bit, discouraged in the flesh, right? But that's what this thing is about. It's about having faith in the Most High, man. The Most High put these trials and this furnace of adversity in our way, and we got to continually trust in the Most High, So let's move on. All right, let's move on. All right, moving on. Okay, from endure all things _7. And Jonah 1:16, were these heathens? And so, how could they offer up an offering? Let's deal with it. Jonah 1. Let's start it out. Yeah, let's start at 16. Let's start at 14 so brothers understand what's going on.
The book of Jonah, chapter 1 and verse number 14.
Right? So when you read the book of Jonah, remember Jonah, he escaped from being a prophet, right? But you can't escape from your lot, right? You can't escape from your lot. So the Most High pulled him back and jammed up everybody that was on that ship because he ran away from his prophethood, huh? So bring it up.
Jonah chapter 1 and verse number 14. Wherefore they cried unto the Lord and said, We beseech thee, O Lord, we beseech thee, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not upon us innocent blood, for thou, O Lord, hast done as it pleased thee.
And they are heathen, right? They knew about the Most High, right? They said, Who art thou? And when Jonah told them that he was a Hebrew, I believe it tells you that they the jump up king. Jonah, go to 1 and 9.
Come on. Jonah 1 and verse 9. And he said unto them, I am in Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, which hath made the sea and the dry land. Then were the men exceedingly afraid.
Because they knew about the Most High. Right? Go on. Just like Rahab, the harlot. Go on.
And said unto him, Why hast thou done this? For the men knew that he fled from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them.
Right. And read, did you read verse 8? Read 8.
Come, verse 8. Then said they unto him, Tell us, we pray thee, for whose cause this evil is upon us. What is thine occupation? And whence comest thou? And what is thy country? And of what people thou art?
Right, what people are. So they didn't know who this guy was, man. You have to tell them, hey, look, I'm a Hebrew. I'm an Israelite. Now jump down to verse 14.
Verse 14. Wherefore they cried unto the Lord and said, We beseech thee, O Lord, we beseech thee, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not upon us innocent blood, for thou, O Lord, hast done as it pleased thee.
Right.
So they took up Jonah and cast him forth into the sea, and the sea ceased from her raging. Then the men feared the Lord exceedingly,
Then the men feared the Lord exceedingly,
and offered a sacrifice unto the Lord and made vows.
Right, now go to the book of Job. You have something?
yeah, I got something.
Go, I go.
You can go to the book of
Exodus chapter 18 and verse number 12. Book of Exodus chapter 18 and verse number 12.
The book of Exodus, chapter 18 and verse 12. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God, and Aaron came and all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before the Most High.
Right, and that's plain, man. So, I mean, you had heathens that offered up burnt offerings too in the scriptures. Right, you can read that against Loki.
Exodus 18 and verse 12. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God, and Aaron came and all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before the Most High.
Right, there's no account of them jumping him, man, or putting him to death and killing him and snapping him or whatever the case may be. Right, he offered up an offering. Right, read on.
And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood by Moses from morning until evening. And when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, What is this thing that thou doest to the people? Why sittest thou thyself alone, and all the people stand by thee from morning unto evening?
Right, so a heathen can give you advice, man. A heathen can teach you certain things, man. Right, you have to have friends of the mammon also. So, I mean, Jethro, right, assisted and through his advice, right, helped what was going on. You can go to Numbers chapter 23 and verse number 1.
Numbers chapter 23 and verse number 1. And Balaam said unto Balak, Build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 oxen and 7 rams.
Right.
And Balak did as Balaam had spoken, and Balak and Balaam offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. And Balaam said unto Balak,
This is what he said.
stand by the burnt offering, and I will go. Peradventure the Lord will.
Peradventure, meaning maybe, I don't know. Read.
Peradventure the Lord will come to meet me, and whatsoever he showeth me, I will tell thee. And he went to an high place.
Just the point.
And the Most High met Balaam.
Right, so the Lord can meet you, man. The Lord can take that offering or whatever the Lord may want to do. That's up to the Most High, man. Right, but it's written. Read.
And he said unto him, I have prepared 7 altars, and I have offered upon every altar a bullock and a ram. And the Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth and said, return unto Balak, and thus thou shalt speak.
And this was a heathen. Right, and this doesn't mean they had a sin offering. Right, and they can receive atonement for their wickedness and come back to the Most High. It's just an appeasement. Right, go to Job 42:7. Right, Job 42:7. They're not sanctified by the blood of the Lamb. They're not sanctified on the Day of Atonement. Right, the nations. Well, first read this Job 42:7. Every nation dealt with animal sacrifice in some form or fashion. The Romans, they had priests that dealt with sacrifices. The Moabites, the Egyptians, every nation dealt with sacrifices on some form or fashion. And people would offer up sacrifices in the ancient world to any god. Does that mean a god of that, and there's only one God, Yahweh Bashmi Awashai, does that mean he accepted them as his people? Right? That could have just turned away his wrath or however the Most High. There's no accounting from accepting it or not. Right? But in the ancient world, animal sacrifice wasn't just for the children of Israel. Right? We sacrifice to the true and living God, but other nations did sacrifice upon man-made altars and things of that nature. So nations knew about these sacrifices in time past. Right? Get Job 42:7.
Job chapter 42 and verse 7. And it was so that after the Lord had spoken these words unto Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, my wrath is kindled against thee and against thy 2 friends, for ye have not spoken of me the thing that is right, as my servant Job had.
Right?
Therefore, take unto you now 7 bullocks and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job and offer up for yourselves a burnt offering,
A sin offering,
a burnt offering,
trespass,
a burnt offering,
Day of Atonement.
burnt offering, and my servant Job shall pray for you. So for him, I will accept.
For him will I accept. You see that? So the Most High, like with Jethro, if Jethro just did that to the Most High and the priest of the Lord went around, is the Most High really dealing with that? No, man. You had Aaron there, you had Moses there. It's a different spirit behind these sacrifices. So go on.
Lest I deal with you after your folly, and that ye have not spoken of me the thing which is right, like my servant Job.
Like my servant Job. Right? All right, so we can move on. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was probably a pretty common thing because Adam knew the commandments, and I'm pretty sure they were doing animal sacrifices before the Levitical priesthood.
All nations knew it. Noah did them. Abraham did them. Everybody knew about animal sacrifices to the Most High. Yep.
That's why there's a law. Isn't there laws on who can come to the temple and offer sacrifice?
Right.
Right. There's only certain nations.
Okay, from Malak Israel. I know, understand, and respect the order, Yahweh Shai, male, female, and child. But are females used to prophesy? And isn't there a difference between a helpmeet and servant? Go to Acts 21:7. Right? Acts 21:7. So a prophet, just because a woman is a prophetess, it doesn't give her the right that she's equal with the man. Right? Or she's equal to her husband, or she's equal to Yahweh Shai. Right? Or the Most High. Right? So bring that up.
Acts chapter 21 and verse 7. And when we had finished our course from Tyre, we came to Ptolemais and saluted the brethren and abode with them one day. And the next day, we that were of Paul's company departed and came unto Caesarea, and we entered into the house of Philip, the evangelist, which was one of the 7, and abode with him. And the same man had 4 daughters, virgins, which did prophesy.
He had 4 daughters, virgins, and they did prophesy. Philip the evangelist, he was one of the 7. The 7, you can read about him in Acts, the 6th chapter. The 7 deacons that were set up over the ministering of the Hebrew women, right? So he had 7 daughters that did prophesy. They were still in subjection to their father, even though they were prophetess, man. And they weren't out there shaking the hand, right? We can't look at when the word says prophetess or prophesy, it doesn't mean it was out there telling the king what to do, correcting Philip, their father, telling Peter, the apostle John, hey, look, I think we're going to move like this. I know y'all want to go to Iconium, but I think we want to travel down here. Or then they bow down. No, man. Women, if they had dreams, may have had visions, may have went into a trance, right? And these things may have come to pass. And throughout process of time, as these things came to pass, you were given that title as a prophetess. And the men of the Lord, they knew the husband and they knew his wife was a prophetess. You can read that in 2 Kings, the 22nd chapter. Go to 2 Kings real quick, chapter 22 and 14, I believe. They came to Huldah the prophetess, right? And that was built off of reputation. So you have to have a pattern of prophecies coming to pass for you to be labeled a prophetess, right? You can't just have one dream that's somebody tickling your toes, man. And you wake up, it's your son tickling your toes and you're a prophetess, right? So bring that up.
So like you said, 17?
22 and 14, copy.
2 Kings 22 and verse number 14. So Hilkiah the priest and Ahikam and Akbor and Shaphan.
Now Josiah sent these men, right? The king. Go on.
And Asaiah went unto Huldah the prophetess.
The who?
The prophetess.
She was a prophetess, man. So you have prophetess in this truth. Go on.
The wife of Shalom.
No, she was equal to Yahushua.
The wife of Shalom.
So this is how the Most High introduces this woman. A prophetess, and this is somebody's wife. Go on.
The prophetess, the wife of Shalom, the son of Tikva.
Then go into this man's records, man. The son of so-and-so. Read on.
The son of Harhas, keeper of the wardrobe.
Keeper of the wardrobe.
Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in the college.
It is not talking about University of Maryland, right? The word college is a district in the city of Jerusalem, right? As they expanded the city of David, they added more, for lack of better terms, areas to it, right? So they had one district. You look up a map of Jerusalem, right? You'll see how you had the inner wall, the second wall, and certain places, the Lord calls it a college. That's the English translation for that. Right, go on.
And they commune with her.
And they commune with her. So she was telling them what they should do based off how the Most High was working with her, dreams and prophetess. And a prophetess is still a servant of the Most High. And a prophetess can be a helpmeet. You can be much more of a helpmeet if you're a prophetess. Yeah, I know you got to go to work at 9 a.m., but she called out today. Wow, what happened? Right? Then she prayed with this happened. I saw you driving and you fell asleep driving and you swerved off the bridge and look, I had this drink twice tonight. Why don't you just call out? No, the hell with you, right? I'm a man of the Lord. So the brother put his seatbelt on, step on the gas, and he end up on somebody's t-shirt, man. Right? You gotta, and prophetess is a better help me, man. You know what my brother's got.
Let's go to Judges chapter 3 and start 4 and start at verse 2. Right, you got Deborah. Right, she judged Israel, right, and freed them out of the oppression of what nation was that? That was the Canaanites.
The book of Judges, chapter 4 and verse number 1, and it reads, the Slavic, and the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord, And when Ehud was dead, and the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazor, the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Haroseth of the Gentiles. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron, and 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapida, she judged Israel at that time.
Right?
And she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel and Mount Ephraim, and the children of Israel came up to her for judgment.
Right? So like the brother said, she had a pattern of works and prophecies that would come to pass. So all Israel will go up to her. Now, when you read more on this account, Barak, who the Most High raised up to go against the army, he didn't want Deborah to leave from his side. He said, I'm going to go to war if you with me. Right? So she's a helpmate as well as a prophetess. So it's not really too much difference of being, what was the end part of it? A helpmate and a servant. That goes hand in hand. Yeah. Right? A helpmate and a servant goes hand in hand, because she was a servant unto Israel to get them out of the oppression from the, what are they, the Syrians? The Canaanites.
And more important, she, just because she was a prophetess doesn't mean she wasn't a helper to her husband, man. Right. And if her husband asked, can you make so and so, and she wasn't sitting up there just divining all day, man. So she was still doing things for her husband, man. Right? Hold on. Right? I'm seeing the vision, right, of you going to the kitchen. Right? Burning the food, the food burning. She see the damn trance and you damn cooking her a meal, man. And then she used 9 turns into sorcery. Right? Okay, divine prophetess. Right? You the prophetess of earth. And you know how Jacob, man, you my mother earth, that the black woman is.
And you start damn putting this woman on the pedestal.
Right. You get the book of 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse number 1.
1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse number 1. And Hannah prayed and said, my heart rejoiced in the Lord. My horn is exalted in the Lord. My mouth is enlarged over my enemies, because I rejoice in thy salvation.
Right, so she's prophesying right now. Right? When you read the book of 1 Samuel, the 2nd chapter, she's talking about the day of the Lord. Jump to verse 10. Start at verse number 9.
Verse 9. He will keep the feet of his saints.
Who is the he, man? Yahweh shall the righteous. Read.
And the wicked shall be silent in darkness, for by strength shall no man prevail. The adversaries,
and that's a key point too, because brother spoke on it earlier, but we're reading it in the scriptures. It said in verse 2 and 1, and Hannah prayed. She wasn't out there on the highways and byways going like this. So women prophesied a certain way, and men prophesied a certain way. Right, read on.
And the adversaries of the Lord shall be broken to pieces.
And that's all the different kingdoms, man. All of the adversaries of Yahweh Shem Yahushua are going to get broken to pieces. And this woman is prophesying these things. Read.
Out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. The Lord shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto his king and exalt the horn of his anointing.
Right, and that's plain, man. She's prophesying about the day of the Lord. How the Lord is going to come back with all of the holy angels and destroy all of the kingdoms of the earth. That's right. That's right. And with that, come your show.
Come your show.
If we didn't answer your question, tune into the Cold Cuts Resurrected channel. There'll be more Q&As throughout the week. You can always tune into the email, Watchmen for Israel77@gmail.com. Brothers got their own social media thing. You can hit brothers up on a personal level. And our brothers will get back with you through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. With that, Shabbat Shalom. Come Yashalom. Shalom.
One more thing. Enjoy destruction of Nicanor and Purim next week.
That's right. That's right. Friday is the destruction of Nicanor, and Saturday is Purim. Right? So keep these days holy. Come.